exploration. So why are Europeans coming to the Americas, both North and South America? Let's get into some reasons for exploration of the New World. The European population is growing and there is a demand for more and cheaper products. We also have a desire for many of these countries in Europe to find new trade routes to the east. The Ottoman Empire had a monopoly on trade routes on continental Europe and Asia, so a way to get around that monopoly on land routes is to travel by sea, by water. And then we also have the three G's: gold, glory, and gospel. And explorers wanted gold and glory. They wanted to make money. They wanted to become famous. They wanted to make a name of themselves. And missionaries want to convert natives or foreign people to Christianity. And that's the gospel part. The effects of exploration: the slave trade becomes needed for sugar plantations in the West Indies. Also have a spread of disease. And I always teach my students about this famous book called Guns, Germs, and Steels. And it talks about imperialism and taking over other countries. And a big reason why Native Americans are killed is because of germs. They are not immune to the diseases that the Europeans are going to bring. There's also going to be conflicting claims between European countries that claim the same area based on similar explorations. One way to get around this early conflict is the papal line of demarcation. This is from Pope Alexander VI, and he divides the New World between Spain and Portugal. And a year later, we have the Treaty of Tordesillas, which gives most of the New World in the Americas except Brazil to Spain. So let's take a look at these two lines really quick. Here on the right, we have the papal line of demarcation, and over here we have the Treaty of Tordesillas. Now keep in mind, it clearly looks like Spain gets the better end of the deal, and they do, but most Europeans didn't really know how far back this land went. So when we're talking about languages, why do people in South America predominantly speak Spanish? It's because Spain had control of virtually all this land. Why do people in Brazil speak Portuguese? It's because Portugal was in control of Brazil. So when in doubt, people in Latin America speak Spanish, except for Brazil. We also have a very famous idea of the Columbian Exchange, and this is a huge exchange of animals, plants, culture, including slaves, diseases, ideas. It is cultural diffusion at its best or worst, depending on how you look at it. Let's take a look. We have all these goods coming from the Americas over to Europe, and all of these goods coming from Europe and Africa over to the Americas. And again, slaves are a part of this. There's going to be a trade that will develop between these three regions that's going to be called the triangular trade because it'll form a triangle. Okay, Spain builds an empire, and one term that you should be familiar with is the encomienda system. And this allows the government of Spain to commend or give Indians and land, Native Americans land, to certain colonists in return for their promise to Christianize them. Keep in mind also that Spain is a Catholic nation. When we talk about England later, they're not going to be Catholic, and they're going to have different expectations. In essence, the encomienda system was slavery, and here is a picture of a Spanish person, and here is his land. We also have the Black Legend, and it's this idea that all the Spanish did was bring horrific things to Native Americans. And while that is somewhat true, they definitely stole their resources such as gold. Again, as we talked about just a few moments ago, 90% of Native Americans were killed because of diseases. There was some good that came about with interactions between the Spanish and Native Americans. Laws, religion, language, culture, all this was infused into Native American society. Spanish also, of the big three countries, Spain, France, in England, Spain was probably the best at getting along with Native Americans and intermarrying with Native Americans and their treatment of them. England was by far the worst. France traded a lot with the Native Americans. Spain did as well, but they also built relationships, personal relationships with them. Let's move on to chapter 2. We're going to focus on America.